These gays, they're trying to murder me.
What do I think of her?
Yes?
I don't think of her.
Read about that in the New York fucking Post.
We have officially arrived at the year 3000, and so much has changed, and we don't even live under fucking water.
It has been 3,000 years since we
It's
started this journey.
The longest podcast series we've officially ever ran by many episodes at this point
By like
on our
many
podcast.
parts.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I was like, I feel like we have just been doing Child Star Hell for so long in this year now that like I was like, oh, Justin Bieber was like 6 parts also. And then I looked at it and I was like, we only did 3 Justin Bieber episodes, and then we did the Patreon episode. Plus, I guess we also did Selena's documentary. So there was like 5 episodes, but like on the main feed, we only did 3.
That's like nothing.
We did 7 on Ariana Grande.
Meanwhile, we've been here for like 3 months.
Yeah, no, we're officially almost entering
a month per
3.
Jonas Brother.
I know. I mean, Jonas Brothers and Ariana have basically been half the year at this point.
It's fucking crazy. And we
forgot that we used to do like Hot Topic episodes.
And we still have more Married to Jonas to cover on Patreon. Which, by the
I'm
way,
so excited.
Married to Jonas episodes 1 through 6 recap are on Patreon. If you're interested, it's really
as well
good.
As a tarot conversation.
Yeah, tarot conversation, therapy.
Jim
talks about family violence and resentment and dreamscapes, liminal spaces in New Jersey. Oh my God, so much happens in that.
Oh my God, I'm so excited for you guys to hear more about that. I was also going to say, this is very proud of us this year. We are not taking Thanksgiving off because who the fuck takes Thanksgiving off? But also, it's our first year in a very long time, I feel like, where you and I are not having to be obligated to see family, which I mean is sad in some ways, but liberating in others.
I mean, I was in San Diego real quick, but my parents are doing, thankfully, the like, let's meet for the holidays outside the holidays, because traveling in 2023 couldn't be me. Oh my God.
Yeah. And I think that one of the reasons I wanted to do this episode is because it is going to be a little bit longer now. And I also am excited about that because, like, consider this what you listen to in the car on the way to and from your parents' house, right?
Exactly.
Say you're traveling for the holidays. You're on a plane, you're on a bus, you're on an automobile.
You're delayed.
Like,
you're on the tarmac. You're waiting in line at the Cinnabon for 45 minutes to get a coffee before your plane gets delayed.
You're like my mom and you have to wake up at 5 a.m. because the Italian place has the raviolis, the fresh raviolis that need to, you need to have your Thanksgiving raviolis. And they only sell a limited quantity and you had to reserve it 6 months in advance for Thanksgiving.
Oh my God.
And if you don't get there right at 6 a.m., you're going to be in line for like 7 hours.
Exactly.
So, you're waiting in line for your fresh Thanksgiving raviolis. By the way, does anyone else do Thanksgiving raviolis or like Christmas raviolis?
I've literally
like,
never heard of this. I was like, what are you talking about?
It is like a thing in my family. Like, it's a tradition from my grandfather's side. And it was like, I shit you not, in San Jose, there's this place that makes like really, really good fresh raviolis and like a bunch of other pastas and Italian foods. And it was like literally the holidays with my dad's side of the family were like destroyed, obliterated, drop a nuclear bomb from on top if we did not have the raviolis. Like people would fight about it.
I've never heard
people
about this in my
would
entire
beef
life.
about the raviolis. They'd be like, oh, it was Tom's time to get the raviolis. I see we don't have any raviolis on the table.
What kind of ravioli filling is this? Is it just cheese or meat?
It's just a cheese ravioli or beef ravioli with like fresh sauce. And sometimes you can get them frozen like any other time of the year. But on Thanksgiving, you want them fresh.
I mean, it sounds good. I've never heard this in my life. I'm kind of like,
and of course,
aback.
she also has to get her pie from the ranch that she lives near. So it's like, you also need to get the fresh pie.
Now that I want.
And you need to get the fresh ravioli because, farmland life. And so it's like,
I just made my first apple crumble today. I'm very proud of myself. She's a pie queen.
What are you making for Thanksgiving for you? Like, what's your
I have a big
vibe?
menu. We have multiple people bringing multiple things, but I am already making a slow roasted pork shoulder. I have cornbread / corn casserole, jalapeno cheese cornbread, mashed potatoes.
I like that
of
you
course.
dedicate yourself to shitting your brains out on Thanksgiving.
I'm legitimately just
one night
like
a year.
pack it full. Well, in regards to not shitting my brains out, I'm making a lactose free or dairy free mac and cheese. Thank you very much. Thanks to everybody. What else am I making? Yeah, I got the apple crumble, of course, mashed potatoes. Yeah, I have a homemade stuffing, so I'm actually waiting for I got the bread early so it can get stale, so I can do it the correct way. And then
Nice.
and then everyone else is bringing the actual vegetables. I'm just doing starches and fats.
Nice. Yeah, we are making let me think. What are we making?
Yeah, what are you doing?
So I'm in charge of 3 things. I'm making, obviously, my really, really good roasted carrots.
Oh, yeah.
And we're thinking of pairing them this year with a miso honey glaze.
Mm.
And then I'm also making my like russet potato mashed potatoes, skin on, of course.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's kind of like a whole production to do that because you have to like cook them and then soak them a specific way, clean them a specific way. You know, you don't want to get nasty with it. But like mashed potatoes without the skin on just are wrong to me at this point in my life. Like I want the skin. I need that like little bit of texture.
A little bit of fiber. It's important.
Yeah, a little bit of just like, I don't know. And then because when you roast them, they get a little crispy on the outside. So I just feel like it works better. And then that is all vegan, of course. My roommate is making like seitan chicken, like stand-in replacement, but we're making also like a crispy breast skin for it out of something that was described to me, tofu, I think, but I'll
like you're
Google later
making
what
like
it
a
is.
vegan chicken skin.
Yeah, like a vegan chicken breast
Oh.
with like a vegan chicken skin because
Oh.
I live with a bunch of vegans now, which is great actually. I'm learning so much different kinds of cooking.
Yeah.
I'm also making hummus from scratch as like one of the entrees because I just really have like fallen in love with this hummus recipe. So the chickpeas are soaking right now, and then
Work.
I'm gonna boil them a little later with some baking soda to remove the skins, to like soften the skins up and remove them so I don't have to deshell them by hand, which I did last time I made it and it's fine. I just like don't feel like
An extra
deshelling
step.
1,000 chickpeas tonight, so I'm going to do it my way. And then I'm also going to make my mac and cheese, which is like just for me, because well, it's not just for me. There's going to be like 2 other people there that can eat mac and cheese, but
Fucking
I
love
just
mac
am
and
like,
cheese, man.
I just want like to have one thing that's not vegan for just myself to remind me of home. So it's okay, listen, like my family is like either Midwestern or like firmly like Nouveau California cuisine is like the only kinds of food that my family makes, right? So like
Yeah.
I'm not going to fight anyone about like whose mac and cheese is better or like what kind of mac and cheese it is or like that's not real mac and cheese. Like, listen, mac and cheese is like one of those things. I feel like it is truly like such a cultural object that like it is made a bajillion different ways in America.
yeah,
and
absolutely.
it is so regional, so cultural that like everyone's mac and cheese is different. And the way that I grew up with mac and cheese is like kind of, my grandma's from partially the South and then partially the Midwest. So the way that she always made it for us growing up was she like combined kind of like a casserole with mac and cheese. So you've had it before. It's like the mac and cheese, of course, the noodles, and then
where you bake it with
3
the
different
crust.
kinds of cheese. 3 different kinds
love
of
that.
cheese and boursin as well, because I love the boursin, which is like a fresh herb goat cheese. And then I roast broccoli, chop it up, diced like so it's like little broccoli florets.
And that goes in
And
the
then
mac and cheese.
I stir that into the mac and
I
cheese.
see how it's like a casserole
And then
way.
I make a crust out of breadcrumb,
Yes, God.
Dijon mustard,
So important.
Parmesan, and garlic.
Thank you for saying that because I remember last year you talked about putting that mustard in the crust,
Yeah.
and now I'm doing that. Oh my God, thank you. Because I'm making
Yeah,
mine
well, because
tonight.
you have to soften up the breadcrumb. You don't want it to be just breadcrumb. It's like
Yeah,
the
I do it with a little
breadcrumb
butter.
Kind of turns into
Yeah.
a crust. Yeah, so it's like butter, a little bit of milk just to like add a little bit of moisture to it, and then
Yeah, 'cause
or,
when
like,
to bake, you want to, like-
you can do butter or like whatever, and then it's Dijon mustard, pepper, salt, crushed and then minced garlic,
Oh,
and then
a little paprika, maybe?
like no, not paprika. I would do, what is it?
I like a little paprika.
Like I have a few herbs that I'll throw into it. And then of course, obviously Parmesan. And you want to get Parmesan and then you also want to get like Manchego. And then I chop that up all really fine. And then I put that on top. And then you bake it after you've cooked the mac and cheese, of course, right? Like, and I like to cook my noodles in chicken. Yeah, I cook my noodles in chicken broth, obviously. And then obviously
thank you for reminding me to do that.
3 different kinds of cheese. The cheeses that I like to use is like an extra sharp New York cheddar. I like a white cheddar, and then I also will sometimes throw in a little bit left of like what I have of the Manchego or of the Parmesan into the mac and cheese as well. Because the Boursin is such a strong flavor. Like it really is pretty
This is the kind of mac and cheese that would kill me, but I would fuck it up. I'd be like,
and then
we're
of
going
course
in.
You bake it all because I really do not like soupy mac and cheese at all.
No, just
it like
stovetop
makes
mac
it really
is like,
firm.
it's not it.
Yeah, it makes it really firm. It's kind of like the kind of mac and cheese you would get like at Homeroom. For those of you who know Homeroom, before Homeroom became lame, or Brenda's. Like it's the kind of one that you would get at like those kinds of places, but it's baked, of course. So I call it more like a mac and cheese casserole because I don't want to like, you know. It's not like straight mac and cheese where it's like uber like soft and creamy. It does have a little bit of firmness to it because it's been baked. But
no, that panko
it's just
breadcrumb
like,
crust is to die
it's so
for.
good. And Matt has had this before too, right? And I also have a spicy variant that I like to make sometimes.
I'm technically
that has,
having
like,
your
a little bit
carrots
more.
because you're sending them to my friend who's making them.
Yeah. It's so funny because I forget that my carrots, everyone like really likes the way that I roast root vegetables. And I feel like I've been doing that recipe for so long now. I forget that it's like something that people are like, Joan, your roots are so good. Like, can you please tell me how to make them? But yeah, it's fun because this is the first time I've hosted Friendsgiving.
Oh my God.
As like my own place since we lived together.
That's
like,
oh my God.
What was that, 7 years ago?
6-7 years ago. Yeah.
No, that was 2017. That was literally 7 years ago.
Oh my God.
Right?
2017 was 6 years ago. Yeah.
6. Yeah.
Oh my God.
But this is Eating for Free, podcast recording live from the absolute edge of Thanksgiving. Coma. Welcome, everybody.
Yes,
We're on the final part of Jonas Brothers, and
it's going to be a doozy.
We are going to just dive right in now because we've done our tight 15, looks like, on Thanksgiving. And you guys are like, oh my God, you guys talk so much. I'm here to talk about fucking Jonas Brothers. And it's like, well, we're here to talk about a lot. We're here to talk about this White Can Monster that I have. Eating for Free, sponsored by White Can Monster.
I wish.
White Can Monster, 0 ultra, 0 sugar.
0 ultra? What does it even mean?
It just says 0 ultra.
White Can Monster, if you want to send cases to our house, please do. We're ready to go.
Shout out carbonated water, citric acid, erythritol, taurine, sodium citrate, Panax. Ooh, that sounds fun. L-tartrate, sucralose, and sorbic acid. Yum.
That all sounds like the chemical, and I want it.
Taste the hydration. Taste the taurine. Okay. Nick Jonas.
Let's go.
July 24th, 2014 opens up about Chains and his departure from Jonas Brothers. Quote, "The story behind my new single Chains is basically that feeling that all people can relate to. It's being trapped. For me, specifically, in this song, I connected to love and trust. And for some people, they have said it's broader for them. It's more about love. It can be about anything that entangles you in your life and doesn't let you do what you need to do to feel free. I think that this is a good fit, and I fell in love with the song, and I really do feel like it has become a staple for this album." So,
the chains of being a Jonas Brother.
Well, let's see now. One of the things that I find most interesting about this episode that we're going to end on is there is just about a million ways to end this series, right? Like we could focus on Joe and Sophie and how they met. We can focus on Nick and Priyanka, which I said last week, and this is probably an unpopular opinion for like people that are maybe joining us for the very first time in the Jonas Brothers series, but like as somebody who really meticulously chronicled Nick and Priyanka's early relationship as an entertainment reporter myself, and scooped a few things about their relationship. Like, for instance, they are one of the only celebrity couples I have ever seen in my entire journalism career, like literally meticulously reporting on this sort of stuff, that have actually forced one of the tabloids to issue a correction on the very first page of its magazine over a story that the tabloids ran about their relationship. They have, because of that, I think, endured extreme levels of scrutiny and intrigue, mostly fueled by the gay rumors that Nick himself exacerbates throughout this episode, as well as just racism that has been directed at Priyanka and sexism specifically. And, you know, a lot of, you know, very xenophobic, I would say, storylines about her that, like, you know, she's hiding a dark past and, you know, she left her country with a bunch of secrets in tow and, you know, she has a shadowy background and can we really trust her?
Yeah, a lot
and
of like why Nick, like he's a perfect industry plant for her, like secede from her side of the, it's very 100%. Weird, very weird.
Just very xenophobic, very racist and sexist. And while I think that there is interesting things to talk about in their relationship, I just didn't really want to have to rehash all of that. Instead, what I really want to focus on is the gay rumors and ending on what I would say to be really a return to the true hero of this story, which I won't give away just yet because there is a hero in this story and it's not the Jonas Brothers. Mm-hmm. So Nick says here, and I want everyone to really focus on this line, quote, it can be more than love. It can be about anything that entangles you in your life and doesn't let you do what you need to do to feel free.
Oh, like societal expectations about gender and sexual orientation, mayhaps. One could say,
bitch. I'm a free bitch, as Lady Gaga said. Lady Gaga said, you were born this way. So Nick Jonas, very almost like right out the gate, and really, as you guys saw in the last episode, for like almost like a year solid prior to breaking up the Jonas Brothers, starts laying the foundations for the narrative about his solo career, which I think probably was exacerbating tensions within the band. If we're looking at this logically, that like it was extremely clear from the outside that Nick Jonas was gearing up for a second solo outing and also branding himself as separate from the Jonas Brothers in a way that probably put him directly at odds with the band itself, right?
Oh, yeah.
He was older now. He had a say. He was clearly very talented, and he clearly wanted a kind of music and a kind of career that we heard Nick actually completely rebuke in the last episode, right? He says that he wanted to go for a more 70s rock and roll vibe and instead got saddled with this like fake Justin Timberlake album, and he really rejects that like kind of aesthetic that had been put upon him because he was the first and oldest to break out of the Jonas Brothers to do his own thing. Not the first, but he was the oldest and like kind of like had a bad boy image already.
You mean Nick, Joe, not Nick, right?
Joe, yeah. And then when Nick finally comes of age to do his own thing, that is just Nick Jonas, not Nick Jonas and the administration, he really kind of immediately cloaks himself in that Justin Timberlake style of music and like personal, like public persona that people keep saying, you'll see throughout this episode, like, this is so Justin Timberlake. He is filling a hole left by Justin Timberlake. He is the next Justin Timberlake, right?
Because that's the only male artist that we have to reference, it feels like.
Yeah, which is, again, like, it is a form of racism in the music industry that, like, for the longest, Justin Timberlake's career rested on a kind of racism that was like, Black men in this industry make a certain kind of music and are pigeonholed into making that music, but also have pioneered a specific style of music as well. And there's always this thing that you can see also on the female side of things with like the Blue-Eyed Soul crowd, where it's like, oh, finally, like with Adele, a lot of it was like, finally, a white girl who makes music like the Black artists, right? Like, finally, there's a white woman we can support. And
let's give them 10 times the amount of money we'd give
And that was
else.
A lot of what Justin was. And we saw that in Britney's book that we talked about, where there's that now infamous clip online of Michelle Wood saying faux shiz to imitate Justin Timberlake. That was kind of a lot of what happens with Justin Timberlake. It was like, oh, finally, there's like a white guy doing this, right? Same with Robin Thicke. And we know how that turned out for Robin Thicke. And we certainly know how that turned out for Justin Timberlake. So it's interesting to kind of see Nick almost kind of immediately get pushed on that, like get pushed into that. And it's also not lost on me that that image of the like white, blue-eyed R&B kind of aesthetic is hypersexualized, which I think directly mirrors the way black men in industry and in culture are also hypersexualized, especially in the music industry and beyond, and entertainment and Hollywood, etc. So I think that this is all just like making for like a really interesting thing I wanted to focus in on for the rest of this episode, and it I think will make a lot of sense once we get to the end of it. So Miley Cyrus at the end of the year, before we moved to 2014, that Chains thing was from 2013. Let me just quickly say that. So at the end of 2013, Miley Cyrus jumps in and has a response to Joe in his open letter in the New York Post, not New York Post, New Yorker magazine. If you guys remember, he talks about that she and Demi were the ones to pressure Joe into doing drugs. And the New York Times asks Miley, do you feel a way about Joe outing you and Demi as having been the ones to introduce him to weed? And Miley responds, if you want to smoke weed, you're going to smoke weed. There's nothing two little girls are going to get you to do that you don't want to do.
Right.
I thought maybe he was saying that like it was going to make him look badass. Quote, it's the opposite. We were so young that it's actually like, how did you get peer pressured by me? And it's like,
exactly. Listen, girl, no one like, unless someone has a gun to your head, they're not smoking weed like against your will. You just wanted a good excuse to do it.
Miley Cyrus is 30. Okay. Joe Jonas is 34. So you're saying when you were 18, this 14-year-old pressured you into smoking weed. Like, get a fucking grip, Joe Jonas.
Also, we see later that Joe is like smoking weed at the club and is like totally has a pothead era for a hot minute. So
Joe Jonas is a Leo. This explains everything about him.
Oh, we can't even get into the zodiac of it all.
So
not even.
Okay. Demi Lovato then also responds in February of 2014 and says, he warned me a couple days before, quote, the essay dropped to fill in that blank. I don't even remember smoking because clearly I was chilling. I called him and I was like, relax, we're good. Just don't be stupid next time. Referring to don't be stupid about what you say about me in the press.
Right.
I love you. It's all good. We're always going to be friends. So throughout the next couple months, or like throughout the next month, a few things happen. Nick Jonas announces that he is going to be Demi Lovato's creative director. Odd. Weird. And Joe Jonas comes out in Stylecaster and says, props to girls who wear heels to Fashion Week, because he thinks it's hard. Cool. So Joe Jonas has this interview in Scene
Joe versus
May
Joe.
1st. Or sorry, April 1st, 2014. And this is fascinating. This is a fascinating article. So it's one of the like last big interviews we're going to feature with Joe. And I kind of want to focus on it because it's like an interesting way to wrap up what it is that is going on with him. So, quote, I'm kind of in the process of deciding what I want to do right now, Joe Jonas tells me at the Soho House in West Hollywood, a glass-walled rooftop bar where we can see his house. I love that. In 2014, someone has to explain what Soho House is because it hadn't yet like completely permeated celebrity culture. He's talking about his next musical project, but he could be talking about his public life as a whole. He has spent 3 years since the release of his solo album more or less out of the public eye. Following the big summer tour last year, there was a planned fall tour in intimate venues, but it was canceled 2 days before it was kickoff. Anyone might be shaken by a public falling out with their brothers, but he seems, in one word, content. And who wouldn't be? Joe is your average, really handsome, super successful 20-something. Those exist, right? Leading a life of total leisure. At 24, he has lived the equivalent of several lifetimes and presumably made enough money and fans to purchase and populate at least a small island or two. So it gets him out of bed in the morning. Short answer, he wants above all else to reset his public persona. More Joe and less Jonas Brother. You might think it would be hard to figure out where one ends and the next begins, but it's really not. When he's at the photo shoot playing music and making genial small talk with the photographer about the best places to live in New York, that's Joe. Then a weird thing happens. People post Instagram photos of the shoot, and within hours, there are blog posts, debates, and rumors that he has canceled his DJ set at Bardot later that night. The thing is, he never announced the DJ set on any social media, and he has absolutely no intention of canceling. He's psyched to be playing. But Jonas is, to a certain type of, let's be honest, girl, the most famous person in the world. He is subject to the whims, rumors, and fabrications of the Jungian collective unconscious that we build around any public figure. Before the shoot is over, his fans have adopted photos from the shoot as their Twitter avatars. Another example. Jones is at Bardot with his girlfriend, friends, and a small retinue of support staff sitting around as he waits to DJ. The room is dark, all wood and leather, and there's a band finishing up a set in the room downstairs. People mill about aimlessly, talking, drinking, eyeing Jonas's crowd in the corner. He's smiling, having a good time. Finally, it's time to go on. He opens the set with a set of music that he loves, electronic and not necessarily danceable. He seems, for all the world, like any other young DJ playing out a crowd to a small set with his, pretty large group of friends. People nod respectfully and pay attention, but not as much as they pay attention to their drinks. At a certain point, when the drunkenness of the room reaches its fever pitch, something changes. The Jonas brother in him takes over, and the music gets faster. People start dancing. An energetic guy named Tetris jumps up and down and yells, "Woo," which seems more appropriate. And then at the very end, as if Jonas tells it, quote, "Some guy I don't know, maybe jealous, probably wasted, was like, 'Boo, play some better music, boo.'" 5 minutes before that, I saw him dancing around like crazy. I don't think he assumed I would talk back to him. So I said from the DJ stage, "If you have something to say, why don't you come up here and say it? Because I can hear you." I was kind of smirking. I was picking up on him a little bit, and the lights came on in the club, and he was really embarrassed. It was funny because the fans started laughing at him. I wasn't trying to start anything. It was just kind of humorous. The guy got embarrassed and left or whatever. That small flight blew up into my manager thinking I got into a fight. Jonas, however, seems ready to say goodbye to all that. In the hours I spend in his company, he has never once said the Jonas Brothers. Of his upcoming album, he says, quote, "I'm trying to make it something that I really want it to be. Do music that I'm really proud of and not let too many cooks in the kitchen." The album is still in its nascent stages, but so far he has recorded or written songs with a variety of collaborators. I'm really at baby stages. I'm writing with people I like and admire, but I'm taking my sweet time with it. I feel like if I figured out what I wanted the sound to be, I wouldn't be too worried about, quote, "I have to release this from the hype of." The previous band, I ask? There's always going to be stereotypes when people think of a band, any artist, that they're going to sound like a certain thing. I hope that when I hit the reset button and release new music, fresh ears will listen with open minds and not judge. He feels that he rushed into the last one. In a big way, he says, "I was told I had a year to make a whole side project or solo album and release it." And I was like, all right, that was exciting because back then a year was like 10 years. That's Joe pushing against the Jonas name, wanting to make work what he's still personally proud of after spending years in the Disney teen pop machine. Still, family remains important to him. Though the Jonas Brothers band broke up, he posted an Instagram with his older brother Kevin's new baby. Earlier in the week, he posted his younger brother for a sleepover and took him to see the Grand Budapest Hotel. That connection with family, he feels, is something that has helped him to adopt a more normal day-to-day life. I've had an easier route than most. The youngsters turning 20, the Biebers of the world, are under a microscope. Bieber is having a pretty tough time finding balance. I think we all saw it coming. Your dad is your party animal. That's going to sum it up pretty quick. There's an equation for some sort of explosion. For all the side projects and various entanglements, DJing seems to bring the most joy. He plays triple with focus and intensity, and he's been working with a few friends, including DJ Triple XL, on developing his skills on the decks. Back at Bardot, Jonas has been at it for about an hour and a half. The last song plays, the lights come on, and a group of adoring early 20-something women throng Jonas as he walks out of the DJ booth. Some of them have reaction like you might expect to see people lining up to meet the Beatles, jumping, waving jazz hands, and saying unpunctuated things like, "Oh my God." Others play it cool. These are women that, if you do the math, have been following him since they were in their early teens. For some of them, meeting Joe Jonas is like a dream hatched when they watched the Jonas Brothers play at their middle school in Connecticut. They never want this moment to end. But it's 2 a.m. and the lights are on and it's time to go. People leave. Jonas walks out of the club undisturbed into the Hollywood street as he disappears into a waiting Uber where he is, once again, finally just Joe. And that's an interesting place to leave Joe Jonas for this episode, besides a few appearances in Nick's life here and there, because it is so clear that, like, of all of them, Kevin most accepted the label of the Jonas Brothers and probably knew that the Jonas Brothers was his last stop on the celebrity train.
Oh, yes.
Whereas Nick and Joe like telegraph over and over and over and over again that they are bigger than the Jonas Brothers, that they are better than the Jonas Brothers, that they don't want to be labeled for the rest of their life as a Jonas Brother, and they want to be like their own people. And you kind of see in Joe's life him throwing like almost a million things at the wall, right? To see something will land, to like kind of just like make a name for himself as some kind of like bad boy DJ rebel rock star who was like a former party kid.
He truly wants to be like some GQ, like man of the year kind of vibe. Like, I'm just a guy who's in the pulse of reality. Like, and then Nick tries to do more so the like, I have other talents. I can do Broadway. I can act. Like, I can just be a general superstar. And then Kevin's on Married to Jonas.
Yeah. So Joe Jonas then turns 25 a few months later, and he parties with strippers in Vegas. Nick Jonas comes out in Time later that year and says he wants a career like Elvis Presley, which Nick Jonas also then strips at a gay club in September, and that is where the story really begins this episode.
Let's go.
So during a HuffPost Live interview in September, Nick confirms that he is no longer wearing the finger bling, aka his purity ring. Quote, "This is a real growth in me, and it's something I'm not doing anymore. But I've got my set of values. Things are more important to me now at this point in my life, and that's really all that matters. I've had an incredibly intense journey with faith and religion and my own growth. My belief in God is still very strong and important to me as a person, and I think that's all that should matter. I grew up in a church environment and still have that love for the church. What's important now is my relationship with God, and that I not judge and that I not be judged."
I swear, the more I think about it, the more I really genuinely would bet all my money in the world that they regret nothing more than wearing those purity rings.
Oh, it's so clear that it is literally the greatest regret of their lives.
Terrible decision.
No, it's so clear. And it is because
without that, they could have gone probably so much further.
No, and I'm telling you this because it is like genuinely the thing that I literally am like focused on constantly, is that like I am harrowed by the fact that these children at the time showed up with rings on and a Daily Mail reporter, and then the entire reporting press all of a sudden were like intensely focused on the fact that these teenagers were virgins, and it was legitimately the only thing that anybody could talk about. Like, they were obsessed. And we said that at the episode, and it is nice to know that we were so on the money about it, that like that was something that they were forced into. And likewise, we're not ever really going to make a big issue out of. But it was this thing that in the collective unconscious, as Jung would say, like, it was this thing that was like a narrative kind of placed for them by the press.
One could say a chain that was put upon their careers.
Yeah. And because of the cultural memory around it, like we all as a culture kind of projected on them that they were these like purity ring touting gun soldiers, God soldiers.
Yeah.
But like they really weren't. Like, we have read so many interviews with them, and religion constantly takes a back seat, right? Don't you think?
Oh yeah. The only thing they really will say is it's just our personal choice. We grew up in the church. We're happy to like do what we do. But they never pushed on anybody or ask anyone to even consider being religious at any point. And especially with the purity rings, the most they ever say on it is it's just a personal choice. I have to kind of respect it, honestly, compared to how much harder they could have gone with it and how much Disney wanted them to.
As we go into this, that your opinion and memory of what you used to think about them and like what you know now has changed significantly?
Radically changed. And I think I was saying this, maybe it was in our Patreon, our last episode, but I feel like the Jonas Brothers, just, I don't know, maybe by like literally happenstance, encapsulate like almost everything about like child star hell in pop culture over the last like decade or so, because each one of them has been put into all the archetypes that we ascribe to like celebrities and celebrity men and the women around them. And yeah, it's radically changed, honestly. I almost have like, I don't want to say more respect for them, but like I actually, like, to Nick's point, I like understand the change that were put upon them. Like Disney and the world really did ascribe them an entire set of traits that they had to follow and basically like, you know, punish them for doing otherwise. And as we get into here, kind of forces them to do the opposite and do other crazy shit to start getting any relevancy or maintain their career. And I have some empathy for that.
Fuck yeah. No, I mean, it's so true. And it's like, yeah, do you have a Jonas brother that you feel like your opinion has changed the most about?
You know what? Probably Kevin, only because of Married to Jonas gave us some more insight than I'd probably ever see, obviously. But I think it's because I never really cared about their music enough to think, oh, who's like the more talented one. But Kevin is the one I probably have changed the most on, and that like he really is just like a regular guy who's like, I just want to live a normal, good life. Joe kind of like fit the kind of stereotype I imagined, where I was like, you're just like an a-hole, like douchebag.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially with Sophie Turner and how that plays out. It's like, true. Nick, I feel like, is exactly the same as I imagined him being. Based off everything.
Nick is the only one.
Nick is like the least changed out of everything.
So we're gonna touch with Kevin, and it's actually the only time we're gonna touch on Kevin until the very end here. That
this really is Nick's episode, to be fair.
He makes a single appearance in the next 7 years of the Jonas Brothers' life because dun 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 dun, he makes an appearance on the random ass season 6, I believe, episode of The Real Housewives of New Jersey as Kathy and Rich Wakili's contractor building their home.
That's what I'm saying. He just wants to be a guy from New Jersey. That's like,
yeah, he just wants to be a guy from New Jersey.
Aspirational goal.
I guess Rosie, Kathy, and Rich, members of the Real Housewives of New Jersey at the time, and I think they were Teresa's cousins, Kathy and Rich. I mean, Kathy and Rosie.
Were they only on for that season, or?
No, they were on for multiple seasons. Okay. Kathy's whole storyline is she wanted to be a baker, and then she wanted to start a frozen cannoli business.
Girl.
And then they had a falling out with Teresa because they badmouthed Teresa's dad, I believe, or they badmouthed Teresa's mom. And then it just kind of spiraled from there, and they all never spoke to each other ever again.
Sounds about right.
So Kevin is their contractor. Rosie comes into this contracting like meetup with their, property manager, contractor guy building their house, and looks at Kevin and says, quote, "Wait a minute, don't you sing or something?" And Kevin says, "That was my day job. I'm doing this now." And then Kathy says in the interview chair, quote, "Rich and I have hired project managers for building the house, and one of the partners is Kevin Jonas. He's built his fair share of homes over the past few years, and this is the next phase of his life." Out of the public eye and into the contracting belt.
Hey, you know what? It's respectable.
Yeah,
all I can say.
You know what? Gotta respect a man with a job, even if he is a Republican. So
don't ask who they voted for.
Kidding. So please read this headline.
A man, a plan, a fedora. Nick Jonas rebrands.
So I don't want to read this Vice piece because it is just so navel gazy and stupid, and like such an era in journalism where it was like,
I'd rather forget it.
Women like thing. I'm man. Do I like thing? No. So let's be funny about it, right? It's like very that.
It's like most Vice articles at this point.
So Nick talks about, though, just one brief thing I wanted to touch on. When we signed with Columbia Records, some people came in and started working on a project who were like, quote, "You guys are going to be like this young teenage punk rock band." And I responded, the article writer says, I responded, "You guys were pushed as the Strokes who didn't do coke." And Nick says, "Exactly. That's a really good way to put it." So I have a few things here we're just going to breeze on by. Nick Jonas plays Guess the Bulge with Zac Efron, Justin Bieber, and Harry Styles, where he has to feel different bulges and guess who they belong to. He also... or feel them or look at them. It was really unclear.
Like a plaster mold.
The Daily Mail writes at the end of the year, there he goes showing off his muscles again. Nick Jonas flashes his guns on the cover of Attitude, another gay magazine. And then
oh my God.
Business Insider, a Jonas brother has a new app that looks just like Yo, and he's been meeting with investors, and it's about Kevin starting an app that obviously doesn't exist anymore. It was like only alive for 1 year. Nick Jonas then tells the Wendy Williams show, I'm no longer a virgin. Matt, why don't you read this?
Am I still a virgin? No. The 22-year-old singer revealed to Wendy Williams on Wednesday, I'm an adult in all ways, and I'm comfortable with who I am. I don't regret wearing a purity ring. I think it was an important part of my childhood. That when, as I grew up, I sort of figured out what was important to me, my own belief system, which we all grew up, we all lived life, and find out what's important to us now. I'm now comfortable with who I am and what I believe in. Nick, who posed in a number of sexy shitless photos this fall, has been with his girlfriend, former Miss Universe Olivia Culpo, for a year and a half. We're happy and we're enjoying the ride, he said.
So then he also tells a... Mama,
this really is the beginning of quite a press cycle.
Okay.
The photos in this
photos
article.
kill me. These photos kill me.
The 2014 at all. What happened in 2014?
Why don't you read this? Because I think you took notes on this,
I
right?
did. Yeah. This is from New York Post in December 2014. This copy is just so hilarious. As a jacked up, buzz cut cage fighter with sex scenes galore, you never recognize Nick Jonas from his celibate, scrawny boy band.
LOL.
Truth is, Nick, the star of DirecTV's brutal drama Kingdom, is still trying to grasp the potency of his new ripped bod himself. Okay, people are asking if we're going to watch Kingdom. I'm like, respectfully, I don't think I have it in me at this point.
Absolutely not.
He says to the post, I have been trained very well by some excellent fighters, so if anything ever went down, I'd be worried that I would use the training and then get in trouble, admits a babyface Nick, who says he's never been to a real-life fight before. In the last 3 months, Nick has released his hit self-titled solo album, signed a Wilhelmina modeling contract, starred in a television show, and made postmenopausal women and just about everyone else sweat with his viral Mark Wahlberg / Calvin Klein inspired Flaunt magazine spread, where he posed in nothing but a pair of tidy whities and a smirk. We will talk a lot more about that later, because that truly shook the world. Like, shook the world.
5150. 5150.
He says, I was at a baseball game the other day and a few other ladies came up to me and said, I love the new song. And then they go, we also love the shoot as well. That was an added compliment, he says with a laugh. Like many brave Disney Fizz cohorts before him, including Miley Cyrus and Zac Efron, Nick has finally broken free of his PG image, seemingly reinventing himself overnight from cutie pie crooner to sultry sex symbol badass. For many Jonas Brothers fans, it's difficult to think of Nick as anything other than the eternal virgin. Now, see, like, who is really thinking that? Like, who's really pushing that image? But Nick, who grew up with a pastor father and stopped wearing his purity ring a few years ago, says his sexuality, quote, happened for me over time. Sex is a part of a healthy life, explains the singer, so I have tried to be, in my transition to adulthood, as honest with myself as possible with sex and sexuality and what it means to be me, so I can try to be as helpful as I can. Nick admits he instigated the split with the Jonas Brothers. As talked about before, there was a bit of shock when I first said it was time for us to close that chapter, but after we opened up the conversation, there was a real understanding of all the points I was making, and they all agreed it was no longer right. LOL.
LOL.
And then later on in December, he does a New York Times piece for Nick Jonas showing off is paying off. Shall I get into this?
Yeah, and I found all of these like last two like press moments of the year so interesting.
He does a lot of like
when you
big
finish this
things.
one.
Like you can tell this is very well orchestrated. This entire PR campaign at the end of 2014. So against the New York Times. Not surprisingly, showing off is paying off. Jealous, which has been released in September, just went platinum. In April, he will open for Iggy Azalea on her Great Escape tour. Could you even imagine the energy of Nick Jonas opening for Iggy Azalea in 2014?
Wait, let me see if
You
there's
couldn't pay
photos
me
of
enough to
that.
do that. That is cursed. For Nick Jonas, striking out on his own meant ditching Kristen guitar riffs for a flirty soul pop sound injected with body positive bravado. Similar to the way Mr. Jonas and his management team enlisted producers like Sir Nolan and Robopop for his adult-leaning sonic makeover, they approached Wilhelmina Models in August to discuss marketing the singer's untapped lack of modesty. During their first meeting, Mr. Jonas said he discussed the growing pains associated with the need to be transparent and lay it all out. Taylor Hendricks, the head of the agency's men division, which signed Jonas, took his words literally. A call was immediately made to Flaunt Magazine, a fashion and pop culture editorial in Los Angeles, to conceptualize, quote, some sort of major editorial that would be really forthcoming and open Nick up to who he is today versus who he was as a Jonas brother. The result was Mr. Jonas wearing only a baseball cap and white underwear, his jeans pulled down to his knees as he grabbed his crotch in an homage to the 1992 Calvin Klein ad starring Mark Wahlberg. The public striptease continued. Next month, he appeared in Details magazine, glistening in sweat as he showed off his shirtless workout regimen, as well as in Attitude, a British gay magazine, in which he flexed his muscles yet again and said that being hairy was, quote, a beautiful part about being a man.
And he's also not hairy. Like, that's the funniest part
It's
about
like
this is he's not a
barely.
hairy person. Like, he's not. Like, he has like the hair of like a 20-year-old model at Fashion Week. Like
Like, he's not waxed completely, but that's as
He
close as
could
getting.
be. He could be.
Very easily. The racy image's viral magic has ensued ever since. On The Tonight Show, he popped up alongside Jeff Daniels and Usher, where he was strumming his guitar on stage at the unveiling of Lord & Taylor's Holiday Windows, swinging by a dinner for the opening of Topshop Topman Manhattan flagship at Grand Central Terminal, or posing in a zebra mask with Taylor Swift at a recent 25th birthday party. Just last week, he jumped onto a giant piano at FAO Schwartz store on Fifth Avenue, a la Tom Hanks in 1988 movie Big. Quote, a lot of male celebrities don't give themselves the freedom to be who they are, but Nick has grown up and this is now who he's presenting himself to be. Mr. Hendricks said, I mean, what can you say? He's hot.
So what's interesting is like they talk about this like Instagram post he made that gets 280,000 likes, excuse me. That's just like his belly button from September. He also talks about being interviewed on Ellen or Ryan Seacrest and how he is basically starring in this new show Kingdom that is going to be about a gay mixed martial arts player, like fighter, and it's a direct TV series.
Mama
so,
direct
like,
TV.
Nobody saw this.
No.
And he says, quote, your body is a healthy thing to be comfortable about. And I didn't only want to talk about being comfortable in my skin, but show people the transformation I've made too. And really, like, a lot of this interview is talking about how the cultural, quote, gatekeepers have taken notice of this transformation he's undergone, as the writer describes, a sexual metamorphosis. And he says, Mel Ottenberg, the editor-in-chief of Interview, I had some ambivalence at first because no one can capture how perfect Marky Mark looked in 1992 with that body. But in this era where people's attention span is zero, if everyone stops and thinks about what you're doing it right. They also say that he has like adapted to social media in a way that the Jonas Brothers probably didn't, and knows how to pander to the audience that he's at. Mm-hmm. But most interestingly is this paragraph. In September, he showed up at a gay Sunday night party at Up and Down, a club on the West 14th Street, where he happily obliged a request from a drag queen to lift up his shirt. He also stopped by BPM, a gay club in Hell's Kitchen, where he unbuttoned his shirt entirely while Levi Carter, who... Okay. Like, listen, I'm not going to call anyone out.
Oh.
But if you just recognize the name Levi Carter, then like it's 5150, right? like make sure to take your pills tonight. Make sure to take your vitamins, like to make sure to like stretch before you go to bed, like make sure to work out and like, you know, get a nice exercise, get your heart rate up today. Like we're getting old, okay? Like Levi, okay, the fact that Levi Carter, famed porn star of the millennial generation, has now made an appearance in a series about the Jonas Brothers is like, we've jumped a shark this episode. Can you tell? Like, I hope there are gay fans out there that like, gay listeners out there that like let out a little gasp when we said the words Levi Carter. At one point, he even tweeted during this whole experience, "I love my gay fans." And the writer talks about how in NYU Local, they accuse Jonas of queer baiting and quote cashing in on the gay image. And we get this quote. Now, don't read the link that I have there, okay?
Yeah.
Please.
Just the quote above it.
But just read the quote because this is like deep media industry lore that like you just had to be there at the time. And for the media girlies, you're going to remember this. But Matt, when you included this, there's just no way you would have remembered this. So
no, I
read
definitely.
this quote.
Okay. Nick is the first straight male in the past few years to let himself be sexualized by gay men and not just be okay with it, but promote it, said Mitchell Sunderland, an editor at Vice who recently wrote an article for the magazine about Mr. Jonas. Although there is a profit-based motive, it's still pretty revolutionary. So wait, what was it about this that you want to mention?
Mitchell Sunderland is this notorious former Vice writer that it is hilarious that he is quoted here doing like literal psyop in favor of the Jonas fucking brothers. You know why? So for those of you who don't remember, Mitchell Sunderland was named and indicated in an extremely well researched and I would say explosive BuzzFeed news report about that was like one of like the preceding events to like the true downfall of Milo Yiannopoulos, where it basically described how Breitbart and Milo basically, as the writer said, smuggled Nazi white nationalist ideas into the mainstream, right? And it was talking about the various ways that Breitbart and Milo were like using liberal media and gamifying like liberal media to like get these like back doors into like getting Nazi propaganda out there. And one of Milo's little helpers in the liberal media was Mitchell fucking Sunderland. Now I'm going to read this paragraph from BuzzFeed because this is the kind of thing where like it all starts to come together, right? Like we read these things in hindsight and we're
it just seems so innocent at the time.
Like, how did we not see that this is what was happening? But it is so funny in hindsight. This is from BuzzFeed News. In addition to tech and entertainment, Yiannopoulos had hidden helpers in the liberal media, which he and Steve Bannon fought so uncompromisingly. A long-running email group devoted to mocking stories about the social justice internet included, predictably, Yiannopoulos' friend Ann Coulter, but also Mitchell Sunderland, a senior staff writer at Broadly, Vice's women channel. According to its About page, Broadly is devoted to representing the multiplicity of women's experiences. We provide a sustained focus on the issues that matter most to women. In an email to Yiannopoulos from May 2016, Sunderland wrote, "Please mock this fat feminist," and sent an article by New York Times columnist Lindy West, who is a fat activist, for those of you who don't know. While Sunderland was Broadly's managing editor, he sent a Broadly video about the Satanic Temple and abortion rights to Tim Giannett with the instructions to, quote, "do whatever with this on Breitbart. It's insane." The next day, Breitbart published an article titled "Satanic Temple Joins Planned Parenthood in Pro-Abortion Crusade." In a statement to BuzzFeed News, a Vice spokesperson said, "We are shocked and disappointed by this highly inappropriate and unprofessional conduct. We just learned about this and began a formal review into the matter." A day after this story was published, Vice fired Mitchell Sunderland, according to a company spokesperson. So I'm not going to accuse Mitchell Sunderland of laundering Nick Jonas's gay reputation for
some greater agenda,
for lols and the Breitbart agenda, but I'm also not going to accuse him of that either, right? Like the answer is not no. And I think that
It's definitely not in a void,
fascinating.
you could say.
Yeah, isn't that fascinating that like of all the people, it was the guy quoted is the one who was laundering Nazi ideology through the liberal media and using liberal media to mock the liberal media by having a backdoor channel to fucking Steve Bannon and Breitbart.
Not to take it here, but these are like the group of people that you're like, in hindsight, if we could like take some people out to stop some worse things from happening.
Well, in the media specifically, like you have these
y'all really
people
orchestrated a long, like what's the domino effect?
This is a long game.
Yeah.
Like, okay, wait.
Exactly.
Small domino is Mitchell Sunderland says it's okay for Nick Jonas to
queer bait.
to gay bait. Big domino is the insurrection.
Like January 6th. It kind of is though. Like when you think about it,
It kind of is.
It's not that far away.
Did you think I was going to take it there at all? Did you really think that that's where we were going?
This episode already is going places, but that was a detour I did not expect.
So I want to just quickly insert a video here. So we talked about Iggy Azalea, right? The Iggy Azalea tour. I don't have anything from the Iggy Azalea tour, but I do have this.
Please spare me. No.
I like big butts and I cannot lie. Other brothers can't deny.
Oh yes, Nick Jonas channels Sir Mix-a-Lot, but those aren't the only rap skills that he showed off. Hey you guys, I'm Katie Krause, and this is trending on ET Now.
Hey, started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now the whole team.
Nick Jonas swung by Capital FM on Sunday for a game of Insta-Okie. He nailed Drake's song and then put his own fancy falsetto spin on Iggy Azalea and Charlie XCX's hit.
Here we go.
I'm so fancy. You already know.
This isn't the first time Nick has played this game. He covered Ariana Grande's Problem in the past.
One less problem. I got one less problem.
Is there anything that Nick can't do? What?
Stop. No.
Wait, okay. Shout out to Katie Krause. Shout out to Katie Krause for being the living personification of that exact meme from the other two of the guy being like, hey gays, it's top gay news. Like, what is it?
Age, feet. Like,
what was it? Age, feet.
oh my God. I'm
Net
forgetting
worth,
right now.
age, feet, net worth. And
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know, you guys. Is there anything Nick Jonas can't do? It's like, yeah, actually, most things.
That was abysmal.
That was abysmal.
It was a dark moment.
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
It's like,
I can't. Okay, let's keep going.
okay,
So there's this
interview.
EW interview that you've got here. Nick
Yeah.
Jonas, the former boy bander, goes rogue from basically the day after Christmas, which is a crazy day to run a story like this, but keep going.
Yeah. I was going to say, since I'm a little sickly, do you mind if I ask the questions and you respond as Nick?
No,
Okay.
Matt, I'm going to make you work through the pain.
Okay, this interview is wild. Obviously, we condensed a lot of it. Link if you want to read the whole thing. So let's just skip to the good questions. Did you think consciously about revealing this new sexy adult side of yourself, or did it come naturally?
I feel like it came pretty naturally over the course of 3 or 4 years. Can you imagine? Over those 3 years, it wasn't as predominantly in the public eye as I am in this moment, which was by choice in a lot of ways. Just taking time for me to grow and figure out who I am as an artist and a performer. Taking time and coming to a place where I'm comfortable and ready for this next step. I've been thinking it's been pretty insane to be bold like that and try and push myself, but I feel really good about it all.
Now people are seeing you in a way they've never seen you before and seeing parts of you they've never seen before. What's been the question you've been the most uncomfortable about being asked?
I mean, I think for anybody, being asked about your growth as a person, specifically as it relates to sex, is always going to be strange. That's not a conversation piece that's like totally comfortable to talk about. There's a desensitization that happens with people because they are so familiar with you and you've been in the public eye. And I'm not complaining about it. I mean, I get that side of it, but it's so strange to be asked about things that are so personal.
God, the way he like never answers the question directly.
No, but remember what we
The
talked
press
about in the
training.
last episode?
Yeah.
Remember how they said that Nick was always the one? It was Kevin
They
answered the
deflected
funny
him.
questions.
Yep.
Kevin answers the funny questions. Joe answers the like goofy. No, Kevin answers the like goofy stay on message questions.
Yeah.
Joe answers the funny questions and Nick answers the serious questions. Like you can tell that this is like a media professional.
Exactly. The interviewer then asked, have you ever Googled the phrase Nick Jonas shirtless?
I've never Googled that before. I mean, I've Googled myself before. I don't shy away from telling people that. I just like to be aware of what's out there. But no, there are never specific searches for Nick Jonas shirtless.
Well, FYI, there are 1.2 million hits.
That's insane.
It was just revealed that your character on Kingdom is gay. How has it been for you to take that on?
My first reaction was genuine excitement at the opportunity to push myself as an actor and play a character with stakes as high as Nate's and questions about himself and his sexuality. I think one of the sexiest things in a person is their acceptance of all people. So I'm thrilled to play him. Okay, wait.
Break it down. Break it down.
I think one of the sexiest things in a person is their acceptance of all
Babe,
people.
You're so validating me right now. Like, so sexy. The way that you just like accept everyone.
I feel like Nick Jonas should be he, they. Like he should try he, they out for a spin.
Ooh.
Okay.
So obviously, the series of crotch-grabbing photos you took were a nod to the iconic Marky Mark Calvin Klein ads. Who would you like to see do that pose next?
I had not thought about that. Well, the Mark Wahlberg one was about 20 years ago. And so I think every 20 years, maybe someone has to do that. In 20 years' time, they'll be doing the Mark Wahlberg and me.
Good luck with that.
Okay. You want to fuck Mark Wahlberg, don't you? You want to fuck me? Okay, keep going.
What was the aftermath like?
It was really surprising. As we were doing the shoot, I didn't think much about it. And then it just kind of evolved from there and became a moment. But like at the end of the day, I really just viewed it as a fun tribute. And it wasn't a real goal in mind to have this big reaction or anything.
Sure. Of course, it's only natural that people would be surprised. I mean, you were a puberty ring until 2010. And I think people have trouble wrapping their minds around this new Nick.
Yeah, and obviously I'm aware of that. Like I said before, when there's emphasis put on things in the personal life, it totally makes sense that people take interest. What did he just say? When there is emphasis put on things in the personal life, it totally makes sense that people take interest. But I feel like for me, it's all about next steps. And if there's these little things that I've done to show people me in a new light, get the real overall goal of setting up adulthood, I think that it's all good.
Were your old school longtime fans scandalized?
I'm not sure. I think I went into the next phase of my life with the idea that I had set these goals and pushed myself creatively in any way. And if not everyone from my past came on that journey with me, then that's okay. Because I think there's a whole new set of fans who've received this all with open arms. Yeah, the gays you're leading on. And it's been really interesting to see who a fan is now. And I'm thrilled with the fans and the journey they've gone on with me. I mean, like, listen, I do think that there is something to the fact that, like, we have seen time and time again, there is, like, you know, when, okay, not to start, like, male loneliness epidemic discourse,
Oof.
but, like, you know, we have seen enough discourse online about the male loneliness epidemic and how men are increasingly isolated from their peers and feeling emotionally cut off and, like, lacking friends and social relationships. And for all of the ways that people talk about gay men being so magically evolved as if, you know, it is like some genetic thing that happens when you're gay, which it's not. We know this. It's all social relations. I think that gay men also have experienced that to a degree also, because obviously I don't think they have entirely escaped the loneliness epidemic. And I think that we have seen time and time again the way that gay men are susceptible to this sort of propagandizing by celebrities, like the gay baiting thing. Mm-hmm. Like you see it with Jacob Elordi right now, a man who is like so
Let's talk about
firmly straight. a man who is like so excessively straight, right?
Only
there
plays
are,
like
actual,
heavily misogynistic
Yeah.
ultra Chad characters.
Yeah, there are like gay men on the internet that have like never reblogged any of the like many hot gay celebrities that there are right now, but the second like a straight guy with abs comes on screen, it like literally becomes their entire personality to reblog him like baby girl, baby girl, baby girl. And I actually think one of the least attractive things people can do is thirst after straight men. Like when you're gay, like it just is like such a turnoff and also
sad.
so lame. Like
It's just
dude,
upsetting.
he would gay bash you. Like get a grip. I thought we got
he's not
over the
gonna
like
fuck you.
thirsting. Like
He's not gonna fuck
I know
you.
Troye Sivan like reactivated this like fucking like neural like
Stop.
neural problem in gay men that like causes them to like thirst after people that would have called them slurs 10 years ago, but like get a grip. Not saying that applies to Nick Jonas, but it is funny to me that like we can see this so clearly like 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago that like nothing has really changed in the way that it is so easy for male celebrities to like gamify their gay audiences. And it's funny also because I think there are less gay men on the internet than there are just like heterosexual people.
I was
so
gonna
it's
say
even
this.
No, so it's even more noticeable because like there are so many straight people on the internet and straight men on the internet that have these like huge followings that you and I are never going to interact with in any like legitimate way. But because like the number of like gay men with like any sort of sizable influence on Twitter is like a much smaller pool, I would say. And also gay people love to gossip, so we're just like more prone to knowing lots of different kinds of gay people on Twitter. Like this sort of effect on them is just so much more obvious to me because like at any given point, like I have no idea what the straight girls are thirsting after. I have no idea what girls, like female celebrities, straight guys are obsessed with right now. Like I could not tell you a single thing, right? But like you always know who the gay men are going after. And like baby girl effect around Jacob Elordi is literally just what Nick Jonas was doing to people like 10 years ago.
But I'd also say there's even more like cis women that are like obsessed with straight men pretending to be gay, which is a whole other conversation. But I do feel like the longtime fans of Nick Jonas are, especially the women, are like obsessed with this and play into it. And it's a very interesting dynamic.
So, 2015. We don't got much to say because, again, it is just a lot of gay rumors, a lot of album release stuff, and like we don't really care about that. But I want to talk about this one thing from the Daily Star in November 2015. Nick Jonas fails to deny gay experiences. Quote, "I can't say if I have or haven't." Speaking exclusively to Daily Star Online at the Radio 1 Teen Awards, Nick teased fans of the show about whether his scenes will get steamier. Quote, "Well, I'm gay in Kingdom. If you keep watching the series, you'll see more of that." When
Stream
quizzed on
8,
whether
9 Central.
whether he's experimented sexually with another man, he teased, quote, "I can't say if I ever haven't, but if you watch the show, you'll see more of that."
Okay.
Again,
Let's just talk
just
about how
like-
this is really about promo material.
No, it's promo. And this is what I'm saying is it's like, do you guys really find it sexy when a man only mentions homosexuality or gayness or like accepting gay people when he wants you to buy something? Like
It's like to
Nick
get a
Jonas,
direct TV subscription.
When has Nick Jonas ever just like legitimately randomly posted gay people on Instagram and or like centered gay people in his personal life ever, right? We don't know. He might be fucking them down every weekend, maybe, right? Maybe he and Priyanka have like a whole arrangement going. That sounds nice. But also so
let
much
us
of his
know if that's happening,
engagement.
y'all.
Yeah, like that actually make me like him more.
Right.
But so much of his engagement with homosexuality and gayness in the public sphere is through the prism of business and getting people to purchase
And
something
this like
that he's
PR
selling.
move to be like, I'm sexual now, I'm an adult, I'm a man now, and that means I could be with anybody. It could be
think-
you. Like
I think it's clumsy. Like the word gay baiting is clumsy because
it's
like,
not encapsulating at all. Yeah.
because like I think being a straight guy flirting with gay men, even if you intend to never have sex with them, is like there's something. I don't want to say it's queer. You're not queer if you're a straight guy, but like that is like you're allowed to do that, right? Like it's not like if
Yeah.
you're straight you can only flirt with women, right?
I'd
And
rather
if you're
like
not
the
gonna-
straight men be doing that than like just homophobic.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is it's like queer baiting. It's like, okay, so there's like a definition to what queer is, right? Like, you know what I mean? I tend to shy away from things like words like queer baiting or gay baiting. Gay baiting is a little more specific, but like queer baiting is just like, ugh, okay, like define queer, right?
Right.
But I do think that it is extremely cynical in hindsight, just how like commercialized everything about the gayness is, and the only times he ever really like interfaces with it is when he's hosting awards, when he's making public appearances, when he's trying to get you to buy an album, when he's trying to get you to like get a direct TV subscription.
You gotta work for that because ain't no one doing that.
He also opened up his thoughts on gay baiting, saying that it's all down to having haters. Quote, in every situation when there's an opportunity to be negative, some people find the need to be. I love the roles I'm playing and I'm thrilled to be playing them. And then there is a Q&A from Pride Source with Joe Jonas about gay clubs with Nick Jonas.
This is hilarious.
This is hell. This was like hell to read. Why don't you go?
Yeah.
And then you can read the interview questions.
Yeah. Just as a quick thing, I guess he's producing like a disco inspired album from DNCE.
DNCE.
Yeah. So that's the framework for this. So the interview asks, why disco?
It's something I grew up listening to quite a bit. It's always played in my house. My dad grew up in the 70s and always really loved everything funk and disco. And it was the one style of music that all of us in DNCE loved. It helped us embody what this has become, a kind of disco rock pop stuff that we were able to brew up.
Disco is obviously steeped in gay culture. Have you ever gotten down to some disco at a gay club?
I went to a gay club with Nick a few months ago and it was really fun. And actually, I was really impressed by the DJ. He played everything and was all over the map. His musicality was great and we had a great time.
Was this your first time at a gay club?
And I love how Joe is like, I am a heterosexual person. I don't want to gay bait you all. Like, I don't know gay people.
I was brought to the gay club by Nick. It's crazy.
Yes, Nick brought me to the gay club. Like, do you think Nick media coached Joe that he needs to keep talking about gay clubs every time he's interviewed about him?
I think so.
Well, I've accidentally gone to gay clubs before. I think that's happened to a few people, but you know, it was cool. We went out with some of our friends who are gay. I think we just live in a world where obviously it's not a big deal. It's fine. And I love when they're talking about being gay and they're like, yeah, you know, like obviously being gay is not a big deal. And it's like, okay, well, why are you having to point out if it's not a big deal? This is literally
the Seinfeld thing. Not there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, not that there's anything wrong with that. And you can have fun wherever you go and make the best of it. Make the best of it. Okay, why would you have to make the best of it?
Are you at disadvantage? Something happening to you?
Okay.
How do you accidentally end up in a gay club?
Being in Europe and not being able to read any of the signs and just stumbling into what you think is a regular club, you're like, oh, okay, here we go.
I'm sorry, but like, not to be this person, but like, I feel like you can tell from even the outside if it's a gay club.
Babe, we know.
Like, anyway, at what point did you realize the club was gay? I love how the interviewer is like, bitch, when did the faggot meter get hit?
Say it. Getting hit on by more men than you would usually get hit on by.
Sure. What is that experience like for you?
It's flattering. I don't mind if someone's nice. And it's cool to see at these concerts too. A lot of guys come out to the shows. Some gay guys as well. And I love that. They rock out. They have fun. And I feel like that music is helping people express themselves in a way. I'm seeing people with glitter on their face with the brightest colors. I love that we can encourage people to be themselves. Yeah, I love the gayest anthem that I've ever heard in my life. Talk to me, baby. Oh, yeah.
Joe was like, blue hair people do come to our shows.
Yeah, that's the gayest song I've ever heard, Joe Jonas. You're so fucking right.
The glitter on the face. Okay. In 2014, Nick said
gay people aren't putting glitter on their faces except fucking, except Frankie Grande.
I mean, Frankie Grande probably did go to Jonas
and like
concert.
Those bears that go to P-Town every summer and do the glitter beards.
Enough. In 2014, Nick said he didn't feel Jonas Brothers did enough for their gay fans. What's your take on that? I'm obsessed with these questions.
Thanks, gay source. Maybe it was just our age, but I would agree with Nick. We maybe didn't reach out as much as we probably could have. I hope now we can encourage other gays and fans who are gay to be quiet about it. Oh, I care too
I
much
was
about
about
my
to say.
friends who are gay and fans who are gay to be quiet
The
about
way
it.
you said it was even better. Hung up the gays. Quiet about it.
And now, having friends who are gay and touring these different markets and seeing that DNC has gay fans coming out to the shows, it's awesome. I just love. Okay, guys, it's 2016. Okay, is this 2016?
No, we're in
it's
2015.
2015.
Yeah, November 23rd.
It's
Oh my God,
2015.
literally.
And they're
8
like
years
gay
ago today.
people, literally a precious resource, like gay, like the way that it is discussing gay people as if this is like the emergence of gay
No,
culture
when
in
he
the
says,
mainstream.
and now having friends who are gay, it's like, oh, okay. Just acquired some gays.
Okay, so how aware? Ask that question next.
Okay, yeah. How aware were you of a gay following while in the Jonas Brothers?
We would see gay fans here and there come to shows, and we were always very happy to say hi. Okay, I also want to just know in retrospect, did the Jonas Brothers have gay fans? I was not a fan of the Jonas Brothers. You were not a fan of the Jonas Brothers. I don't know a single gay person that was a fan of the Jonas
Nobody
Brothers.
that's reached out to us. I mean,
Guys,
there's some people who have
guys.
reached out, but none of them have identified as gay men
Guys,
so far.
Why? Okay, if we're talking about this specific
Please send us
generation
an
of
email
Disney Channel,
if you are gay and like the Jonas
the
Brothers.
the gays were not thinking about the Jonas Brothers in 2011. Okay, we had Lady Gaga, we had Nicki Minaj, we had fucking Miley Cyrus, we had
Lana
Demi
Del Rey,
Lovato,
Azealia Banks.
Lana Del Rey, Azealia Banks. Like nobody was checking for the Jonas
Booked
Brothers.
and busy. Marine the Diamonds, mama. Like,
Marina Diamandis. Okay. Okay, wait. It was always made us happy, and like you'd see a sign or two that would say something kind of funny. I can't remember what they said off the top of my head. Name them.
Name them.
Name them. Name them. A lot of them were always making me laugh, and they were flattering too.
I love how Joe's like, they were so sassy, but we can't say that because I'll get in
We
trouble.
can't say that.
Because I'm
We
media
can't say
trained and I
that.
know we can't say that. You recently tweeted a photo of you in a feather boa while in Texas. What's the story? What's the story behind
What
that?
are these questions?
This sounds like your principal being like, we saw
Hey,
you do
you
some
kind of
gay
look like
shit.
this. You kind of look like a faggot in this recent photo of you. Tell me about that.
Can you tell me the inspiration behind this faggotry?
Hey, gay. I see you have your gay costume on like you always do. Oh, wow. I don't even remember. But I'm definitely the risk taker out of the brothers. You're saying that when your brother just got on national television and smelled men's crotches in a game of Guess the Bulge? Like, so I don't remember all the crazy and wacky things I've done.
I was crazy back then. I was so crazy.
Period. I really don't let anything hold me back these days.
Is that because there's less to hold you back?
Definitely, yeah. I feel like it's nice to be able to have a voice in the music industry, but also be able to express that voice and not really feel shy about that or feel like you're supposed to say this or that. Obviously, being in the situation that my brothers and I were in for so many years, we didn't have anyone in particular saying, don't do this, don't do that. But you just have the back of your head because you're a bit worried or nervous that you might say or do something that could set off fireworks.
Okay, but that's like not true. They did have
No.
people saying, don't do this, don't do that. Like Joe, literally, we talked about last episodes, talked about how much Disney put them through the ringer to not be like all these other celebrities that were
Yes.
getting in trouble. Anyway, will you and Nick and even your brother, sorry, I can't get over this phrasing. Will you and Nick and even your other brother, Kevin, ever do anything musically together again? Shady boots. Shady
you
fucking
know how
boots.
there's
The
other
other
mother.
brothers?
Yeah, no. Remember Other Mother from Coraline? Kevin is Other Brother. Ever do anything musically ever again? Oh, I would say so. Nick and I have a few ideas to work with other artists, not Kevin.
He's busy in New Jersey.
Not Kevin, who we really like. There are a couple of artists out there that we think are really incredible and we'd like to work together with. And then there's always down the road. We don't ever want to say never to anything just because there could be something that comes along our way that we might say, you know, let's try working on this song together. It's tough to say that we'll never do it because who knows?
What would reunite you?
Time itself, seeing where
Well-
things will lead us. It's easy to say we're done and that we're never doing it again, but then we both look at each other and go, we both look at each other. Again, Kevin, not in the equation.
Not we all, we both. Ooh.
It's just the two of them. Remember, it was always just the two of us. We're obviously get along, and years from now we could be like, all right, let's make a record. It could easily happen.
I mean, it takes like 8 years, but it does.
Okay, this headline
I know.
broke me.
Nick Jonas covers L'Uomo. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah,
L'Uomo Vogue. I'm proud to play gay.
I'm also proud to play gay. I think it's all just time that I come out and say it to everyone that I genuinely just want to say, for the first time ever, I'm playing gay. I think it's time I just say that.
You should radically honest. Practice radical honesty today.
Do you think that I'm not being honest when I say that I'm playing gay? Do you think I'm making this up?
I believe women.
Matt, have you believed a woman ever in your entire life?
Sometimes.
I'm
choosing today to believe women.
So you don't think that I'm pretending to be gay?
No, definitely not. I would never.
Interesting. Well, I'm proud to play gay, whether or not you think I should be. Freshly relieved from Scream Queen's duties, where he also played a gay guy, Nick Jonas sat down with L'Uomo Vogue for a chat about his future projects. On his role in Kingdom, in which he plays a gay boxer, what does Nick Jonas say?
It's an honor, but I don't think of myself as an icon. There should be a lot more straight artists who don't have a problem with having gay fans. I'm really proud to play gay characters, and I'll continue to do so. I think it's among the challenges of maturing as an actor. This next part...
He cites...
You have to say it. I'm sorry. I know. Just say it.
He
Just
cites
go.
Kevin Spacey as his role model and mentions his brother Joe. Nowadays, with my brothers Joe and Kevin, my relationship with Joe and Kevin is stronger than ever. If we had continued with the band, we probably wouldn't be so close. I'm so proud of what we achieved, but now I'm concentrating on the things I'm doing for myself, and I'm grateful for their support.
Oof.
He also talks about Justin Timberlake. I'd like to go back to Broadway, but with something written by me. That's what I really miss. Okay.
Good luck with that.
Okay. From teen heartthrob to gay icon, who is Nick Jonas? Out magazine, May 10th, 2016. We arrive at the mini golf counter on Pier 25 in the Tribeca neighborhood of Manhattan, where a nice old suspiciously overdressed Russian man asks what color balls we'd like. Hot pink, I shout. Nice, Jonas says. He chooses orange, and when the Russian man asks if he can hold my balls as I fumble with my wallet, I make a sex joke. Jonas giggles. We're off to a good start.
This so
Sure. They talk about how Nick, is an avid golfer, which is, again, hate. They say he's a bit of a jock and that he would have probably pursued sports and baseball if he had never gotten into music. They talk about how he has taken he's taken a page out of Justin Timberlake's book and kind of like gone the whole like blue-eyed R&B. He also says that he has filled the hole currently vacated by Justin Timberlake and Robin Thicke and has taken a page out of James Franco's playbook by basically courting the gay community and leading them on. He says the accusations of gay baiting are hurtful to him. Quote, it's not the majority, but a large handful have a negative opinion for whatever reason. And I think it's really quite sad. Still, regardless of whether he's playing footsie with the LGBTQ community, his work is starting to speak for itself. He says that in Scream Queens, he plays a closeted frat boy, and that even though the character was cooled off, that he had like a really fun time with the role. He also talks about in the finale of the Kingdom season, its first season, his character Nate has sex in an alley behind a gay bar, and that Nick says of the character, it's been a great character to play, one that I try to be respectful of and take myself out of. He's on his own path. He also says that he talks to people to prepare for that scene about what it was like to like be closeted with conservative
Let me
parents.
consult the gays.
And he says it was a way to research, to kind of build this character with some elements of real life.
He said, Mama, let's
A few weeks
research.
after our golf date, Jonas is hosting a private listening party for his new album, Last Year Was Complicated, at the Dream Hotel near Times Square. A couple dozen people are in attendance, and that one of them is Carmen Carrera, who is formerly RuPaul's Drag Race contestant and very famous trans model, who Jonas apparently met and then invited to the listening party at the GLAAD Awards. Huh. Nick Jonas got honored at the GLAAD Awards. Isn't that fun? He also presented there with Demi Lovato, who he toured with that summer, and that Demi at the award show won the Vanguard Award. Carmen has nothing but nice things to say about Nick at this party, says that he's a very humble and amazing ally. We need more people like him in the music industry. Someone who's willing to come out and say that he supports the entire LGBT community and embraces fans from all walks of life. And maybe he might have a trans love interest in one of his music videos. Let's open up that conversation. Well, he never does. Let's also open up that conversation, Carmen. We're both from New Jersey, so we have a ton in common. It just makes me sad to be like, he's still not going to fuck you, Carmen, because obviously that's a sister, but like, Carmen.
Listen, it was rough back then. It was rough.
He also talks a little bit about the attention on his sex life and says that the fact people were intrigued by a 14 or 15-year-old's relationship was strange to me. Now that I think about it more, it makes sense. I think it's kind of amusing that people have these interests, but it's funny because I think I live a pretty low-key life. And that's funny because that's really the truth. It's like the gay baiting and the like intrigue and the speculation that he kicks up is literally professional. It is a professional intrigue that in his everyday life is not something that factors into it because gay people don't actually factor into his everyday life. He lives a normal low-key life. He plays golf. He like hangs out with his rich family's Republican friends. Probably they have dinner at Sundays. He goes to church. Maybe he's like dating Priyanka Chopra, maybe at this time, but it's not something that really like is a huge deal to him in his everyday life. It's all professional. And that's what I find most fascinating about it, you know? This next part though, guys. So I want to actually get the date right before I say this because I want to be respectful of when it happened. Yes. So pretty soon after, on 6/16/2016, or sorry, June 14th, 2016, Nick Jonas is asked 2 days after the Pulse shooting in Orlando that took the lives of 49 people and wounded 53 in Orlando at the Pulse nightclub. Nick Jonas is asked to speak at a vigil 2 days later for the Orlando victims in New York City at the Stonewall Democratic Club. This was crazy. Like, this actually was like legitimately crazy to me.
Like,
I felt crazy reading this. Like, what do you mean Nick Jonas spoke at the Pulse nightclub vigil 2 days after? What are you talking about? That is... Okay.
It's like so insulting at a degree that is like actually baffling to comprehend.
Yeah, of all of the gay celebrities.
And of all people in America that can speak.
I guess part of it was probably like he is a huge celebrity and he feels passionate about this. Yeah. We should let him speak.
And it probably gets more
like,
attention, I guess.
It got so much attention, Matt. It got so much attention. But shout out Heron Walker, bestie and friend of the show, who was working for Splinter at the time, formerly Fusion before it was rebranded, and had an actually great blog about this at the time from 2016 saying, why was queer baiter Nick Jonas asked to speak at a vigil for the Orlando victims? Rage is a powerful thing, but it's difficult to focus that feeling in the wake of the Orlando shooting. Here's a solid place to channel some of it. Nick Jonas, who the Stonewall Democratic Club of NYC chose to speak at their vigil Monday night at the Stonewall Inn in New York City. The straight white actor and singer who claims he has, quote, technically had sex with another man on account of the multiple gay characters he has portrayed on TV and regularly baits queer consumers for cash, spoke about how his heart broke when he heard the news. Video footage from the vigil shows many attendees chanting "say their names" in an attempt to divert focus away from Nick's feelings and onto the victims of the Pulse nightclub shooting, the majority of whom were LGBTQ, Latinos, and people of color. They were unsuccessful during Jonas's speech, but DNA Info reports that the 1,000-strong vigil ended with a recitation of all 49 names. Like,
it's really mind-boggling.
The audacity to think of yourself as like a member of the community in this way is baffling.
I mean, like, I'm trying to imagine he gets asked to do this, and maybe it's extremely sincere in the way that the people running this vigil ask him. And saying no, I could see being something you maybe wouldn't want to do, because if that got out, that would be bad. But at the same time, it's like, why would you accept to do this? Is there any, like, there's no evidence that Nick attended this club, knew anyone from this club, knew anyone involved in this.
Yeah, and just to kind of divert focus away from Nick in this, other speakers were at the Stonewall Vigil included Jennifer Louise Lopez of Everything Transgender, Myrna Haidar of the Muslim Alliance for Sexual and Gender Diversity, Shelby Chestnut of the New York City Anti-Violence Project, New York City Councilwoman Rosie Mendez, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt star Titus Burgess, New York City Police Commissioner Bill Bratton, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, and New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. God, die. Ugh. Again, it just is like indicative that like this vigil was again part of like this like larger co-opting of like LGBTQ
Democratic
liberation
Club of New York City.
By,
Like,
yeah,
what do you
exactly.
expect, I guess?
So we have a video to end the year of 2016 on.
Cue it up.
In an interview, Nick Jonas told Entertainment Weekly that if someone asked him what his fetishes were, he would probably answer. Well, here's what. I'm someone. Here we go. Have you ever been into, or would you be into, watching porn in the bedroom with someone?
No.
Not into
No,
it.
I'm not into it.
Have you ever been into, or would you be into, furries? Possibly. Okay. Have you ever been into, or would you be into, getting spanked?
Getting spanked, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got a firm ass.
I know you do. Have you ever been into, or would you be into, getting tied to a bedpost?
Not into it.
Not into it.
It happened one time.
It did, one time.
It did happen one time, and it didn't end well.
Wow, that was...
Didn't know what to do. It was all...
Really?
It was bad.
You and Miley. Do you have a foot fetish of any kind?
No, I've never understood that.
Okay. Have you ever been into, or would you be into, voyeurism? Watching others?
Ew.
Maybe.
Maybe. What about pulling hair or getting your hair pulled? Your hair's very short.
It's hard to do.
Yes.
If you can figure that out, though, you deserve it.
What about public places?
No.
No, like
this
backstage of the Billboard Awards or
Doesn't really
anything?
bode well for
No.
me. And that, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was great. I feel complete.
I love the top comment. Call me crazy, but I'd really like to hear questions about Nick's music, including the writing, production, and construction of soundscapes. But I guess this is the stuff people want to hear about. Nick has a lot of patience. Like, Mom, this is Watch What Happens Live. Like, I don't know what you're expecting.
Okay. So I just like can't handle it. I literally can't handle it. What is happening in that video? But also like Andy's voice in 2016 is so like
Haunting.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Andy Cohen. I'm a like a gay guy who talks like this. It's always like, what's up? I'm Andy. Nick Jonas, do you have any gay fetishes?
The photoshopping
you
they do in those
gay?
images, horrifying. We'll definitely post on
No,
social
it's so
so
bad.
you guys can see.
It's so bad. It's so bad. It's so bad. So, oh yeah, and they like have these photoshopped images of him. So, okay, we are running long now, and we're going to keep trying to get through this because we're almost at the finish line
almost
here.
there,
And my
girl.
phone is blowing up with holiday planning stuff. So let's try to get out of here as quick as possible. We are going to now jump to 2023. So for just like very like brief historical accuracy to kind of like position where we are now, 2019 is the official comeback of the Jonas Brothers. They come back with an album. It's their 5th studio album. It's released June 7th, 2019.
JB5.
They get signed to Republic Records for their comeback. And it is the first album since 2013's live album, which is just a compilation of live records. But it is their first original studio album since 2009. So almost a full 10 years later. It's called Happiness Begins. And it... let's see how it did really quick because I'm actually curious about
what are
this.
the stats, actually?
It debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 with 414,000 album equivalent units, 357 of which were pure sale, 357,000 of which were pure sales. It became the Joe Bros' 4th number 1 album, and it was led by the single Sucker, which is like the one, I mean, we all know Sucker, where it's like, I'm a sucker for you.
Yeah.
That one?
Yeah, made in a lab.
All
kind of
the
music.
subliminal things that I think about you. Like, you know that one, right?
Yeah.
And that song is like written not just by Nick, Joe, and Kevin, but it's also Ryan Tedder is one of the writers on it. And you guys know Ryan Tedder because he famously has produced a lot for people like Lady Gaga, Maroon 5, Ariana Grande, Beyonce, U2, Miley, like basically everyone, right? Like he's a huge songwriter and producer. And so it makes sense that the song is successful. The album is pretty well received, so they immediately follow it up in 2022, 2023 with a new run of singles for their next album, the 6th album called The Album. It's literally called The Album.
Hate.
I know, it's so bad. And that's the one where it's like Waffle House is the like single
that
from
song.
it, and it's
Oh my
such a
God.
bad song.
It's literally that kind of music that they've like studied makes people angry because it's so up like happy-go-lucky kind of vibes.
Yeah. It's like that song that was the Justin Timberlake. Was it the Justin Timberlake song? What was that one song from the Trolls movie that was like
God.
everywhere?
I thought about there's also that Pharrell song too. I can't remember.
Oh, it's Pharrell. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Pharrell. Is
Like
it
Happy?
Trolls?
I don't-
Happy.
Yeah, Happy. I think that was for Despicable Me, actually. I can't remember. They're all it's like all
the one
blending in my head.
The one I'm thinking is Can't Stop the Feeling from Trolls. That was the Justin Timberlake song.
Oh, gutter.
And that song on YouTube has 40 million views. So not as much as I was thinking. Maybe, wait, let's see. Can't Stop the Feeling. No, actually, I lied. It has 1.7 billion views.
I was gonna say,
But yeah, it's like one of those songs where you're like, you hear it and you're like,
Old Navy and Target love it. It's like every indoor mall in America plays these songs. It's very that. That's what's giving to me.
Okay. The Jonas Brothers Roll Deep. Are you feeling good enough to read, or do you want me to read?
I can do it. So
This is from Bustle. This is from this year, actually,
Yeah.
May 10th, 2023. And this one kind of jumps around a little bit, but I am really interested in what this Bustle thing does because I think it's a good place to end where we are with the Jonas Brothers. So why don't you get into this, and
Let's
I'll
go.
stop you when we want to jump in.
Okay. To the faithful, it's not news that the band Rolling Stone, once dubbed the Clean Teen Machine, have settled into their grown man era, following a tumultuous 2013 breakup and various forays into their own solo pursuits, acting, home improvement, PG-13 R&B, or that they are arguably as famous now as they've ever been. The group's 2019 comeback, Happiness Begins, yielded the biggest single of their career to date. The #1 smash, Sucker, and the two of the three brothers have paired off with actors already extremely well known in their own right. Nick wed Citadel star Priyanka Chopra in late 2018, and Joe tied the knot 5 months later with Game of Thrones alum Sophie Turner. Fans of the 2012 reality show, we're the fans in question, Married to Jonas, will recall Kevin's early path to matrimony. He celebrates his 14th anniversary with wife Danielle this December. They often speak in overlapping sentences when answering a reporter's questions and sprinkle their observations with the occasional un-Disney F-bomb. But they also consistently seem, for lack of a better phrase, well-raised, polite, thoughtful, prone to the kindest and most generous interpretation of things. There's a new dad gravitas to them now that all three have become fathers. Kevin and Danielle have 2 daughters, so do Joe and Sophie. 3 years after their splashy 2019 wedding, Nick and Priyanka Chopra welcome baby Malti via surrogate. My mom is very happy in dad too. Kevin jokes, and the family sudden feminine surge in the gene pool. They said they tried 4 times to have a girl and were given them many, which is great. Bringing that caravan on the road is something they've had to consider a lot lately.
Think about the guys.
Oh, yeah. If you guys, again, you got to listen to our Married to Jonas recap because it's going to make even more sense here.
No, but also, what was the primary thing in the custody battle originally with Joe and Sophie?
Yes, having the kids on
the
tour.
Kids touring.
After selling out a 5-night residency on Broadway in March, the band announced a major concert event at Yankee Stadium this August that quickly had to add a second date. In between, they knocked out several shows at London's historic Royal Albert Hall, played SNL for the 3rd time, and shot a video for the already TikTok famous album track, Waffle House. When it's a TikTok famous track, it's how you know it's, again, like that kind of music made in the lab to make me angry. Quote, we've been talking a lot lately about how we're going to get places, Joe says, with a laugh of touring with a full cohort of Jonas offspring in tow. Indeed, he recalls several weeks later for a follow-up interview, he's in London. Nick dials in from Rome, where he's accompanying Chopra on a promo tour, and Kevin connects from his home in New Jersey. Somewhere in the Zoom squares in infant Wales.
Kevin is in New Jersey. Nick is in Rome.
So amazing.
Joe is in London.
Nick confesses just the logistical side of things. It is very different. We're still figuring that out. The 32-year-old producer, John Bellion, who's done Justin Bieber, Katy Perry, Maroon 5, says there's something so like easy and barbecue and also rich and deep in America's culture that these songs feel super rooted in. I'm sorry, I'm obsessed with that sentence. Easy and barbecue and also rich and deep in America's culture.
It's so conservative. Like, it's like, these are Republicans. These men are Republicans.
Just say that. Being fathers and getting to a more mature place in their lives, I think they're comfortable with themselves enough to be like, you know what? We're phenomenal musicians. We want to take some risks and be polarizing. It was actually shocking to me how well adjusted they are. Usually when I'm in the studio with an artist, they tend to be manic or all over the place. This was families, little kids running around. They seem like they're in a place in their lives where they're just really enjoying the ride. I'm sorry, what is polarizing about them at all? Like, they're on this entire process. The low-slung bedroom jam, Summer in the Hamptons, might be a little bit of insight into how all those next-gen Jonas babies got here. Judging by the spelled-out metaphor in the chorus, as in sex with you is like, an undulating refrain of champagne ocean, sky wide open, raw emotion. For Kevin, it's, quote, just natural to speak about your life and where you're at. Like, that's my wife and partner in crime of 13 years, you know? Still, Nick is quick to interject. Quote, we're always conscious that we're 3 brothers singing on stage together. So when we speak about sex specifically, it's gotta be kind of nuanced thing. Otherwise, it can be a little strange. Joe adds, obviously, we're not duetting those songs. Arching a well-groomed eyebrow, very individual singing in that. Oh my God, the tension is still there. Like,
but also, isn't it funny how once Nick reunites with the family, and I think this is really like a perfect closing chapter to end on for this series, that like once they come together, Nick, Joe, and Kevin in some ways all branch out into their own like independently sexual identities, you know, having children, fathers. Joe and Nick kind of court different like sides of the sexual spectrum to like court different kinds of fans, you know, either if it's like, you know, being racy, married to very beautiful, attractive women. Nick is like courting all these gay rumors. And the second they return together all of these years later, free of Disney, free of their old record contract, free of all the shackles they supposedly shed off in the 10 years since they made music together, they still cannot get out from under the like weird sexual repression that seems to permeate the band by nature of them being brothers, no matter what. And the gay stuff completely flies out the window. Like, Matt, we just documented one Well, no, if we even talk about the very first gay interview they ever did, which I think was in 2012.
Yes.
We just basically documented 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Like a good 5 years of like almost nonstop gay press for Nick. And then he returns to this band and it evaporates. Like it completely just goes whoosh.
It legitimately
Because we
was
don't-
just like a mid like 2010s moment.
Yeah, no, because one, he doesn't need that anymore to sell the music
'Cause he
because
gets
now it's the Jonas
married.
Brothers rep. Yeah, he's married, but also it's the Jonas Yeah, he's married now, right? The
Yeah.
illusion is a little bit shattered.
Yeah.
All those gay people that thought he was actually going to marry a man had obviously their dreams, delusional as they were, dashed against the rocks of reality. But like, also, his brothers were not going to participate in that, and their fame eclipses the need to peddle
Exactly.
cheap gay tricks in the public
It's
papers.
always so interesting to see what people need for PR when they're in moments of attention and need to get those numbers up.
And I called this series the Chastity Crusade because even when they are being sexual, there is something so chaste about them, right? The way that they talk about it is
Yes,
so
exactly.
conservative. I've never met a group of men that can make sex seem so unsexy.
Literally, like that's the funniest thing about all of it is it's like we talk about this all the time with like Kim Kardashian, even where it's like for somebody who's trying to be so sexy, it feels so sexless, and that's how it's been this entire time with the Jonas Brothers. No matter how much they try, it's not really something that we can ever like accept, kind of ride with.
So I'm going to let Nick Jonas have some of the last words here in this series. Pre-band breakup, I think we would have said we wanted to do this forever and probably not meant it 100% for various reasons. But the biggest is because we weren't evolving musically and creatively and pushing ourselves. So that time away and coming back, I think now we have actually a more sustainable foundation to really do this because we love doing it. But also because we want to get better and be doing this as long as possible, as long as the foundation is family first. So what if that means we all get to old enough one day to witness a lady president who grows up to be a Jonas Brothers fan, the writer writes? 3 of them laugh. It could happen, they concede. That sounds, yes, Joe says. We'll take 4 more years of that. Crazy way to end this, right?
I'm sorry.
Crazy way to end this.
What if that means we'll all get old enough one day to witness a lady president who grew up a Jonas Brothers fan?
And Joe, of course, breaks in.
In this
We'll
America?
take 4 more years of that. And meanwhile, Kevin's in the corner, simmering, like fuming. Women can't be president. That's not what they told me in New Jersey. So I said I was letting Nick have some of the last words, but that was as the Jonas Brothers. We're going to now return to the star of this series.
The underdog,
The
really.
hero, the underdog, the woman who through trial and tribulation has always just tried to be a normal lady who lives in New Jersey and has a husband who is rich with her children who she loves and has persevered through tribulation, trial, joblessness, a man who stalked her across the country, an evil witch of a mother-in-law, all of which you can hear in Married to Jonas, our spinoff series that we're running on Patreon right now. But through all of it, she has remained a fan favorite here on Eating for Free and will go down as one of the saints. Like, if I could put her on a candle, I would.
Maybe
I
we
would put her
should.
on a candle.
We can set that
You know,
up.
like those like Mariah Carey, Selena, Lisa Barlow candles. Like, I'm putting Danielle Jonas on one also.
Eatingforfree.com/merch.
So on their podcast that they do together, Kevin and Danielle Jonas.
Are we going to listen to this podcast
No.
at some point?
No.
Too down the
Danielle
line.
talks about her sister-in-laws and or sorry, not their podcast. This was on the Lady Gang podcast, which
Okay. Even
deep
worse.
deep Eating for Free lore about the Lady Gang podcast. So she's on the Lady Gang podcast and she talks about this, right? And this is really my favorite part because, you know, we've gone into Sophie, we've gone into the boys, and now let's return to Danielle. The 2 boys are married to somebody who are actresses. They're out there. Everyone knows them. I feel like I'm just Danielle, and it's hard. I'm out there like you, speaking to Kevin, celebrity-wise, because I'm married to you. I want, though, to have something else in my name, too. So that feels more than, or like the other girls, because when I'm with the other girls, I just feel less than sometimes. Jesus Christ. Kevin then interjects and says, I feel that way too. Being like you said, Nick and Joe, right? Solo careers, movies, all that stuff. Everyone has to find their place, no matter the situation. We always get compared to the people around you. I know Danielle dealt with it. I know she did with her sisters growing up, 3 of them. So I totally get it.
Oh.
Sophie Turner is Sophie Turner. She's going to leave Joe and still be Sophie Turner. Priyanka Chopra was Priyanka Chopra before she was Priyanka Chopra Jonas.
And she'll still be
The Jonas Brothers, they're the Jonas Brothers. Whether or not they like it and whether or not they can keep doing it, whether or not they're ever actually going to have fulfilling sex or actually fuck men, they're going to be the Jonas Brothers. But Danielle Delise is Danielle Delise, and she came into this story Danielle Delise, and she left it Danielle Delise. And I find somebody who can endure the last 15 fucking years we have charted on this podcast and stay true to herself to be one of the strongest people I've ever encountered in my time doing this podcast. And I would like to take this moment now. Please raise your hand to your head, everybody, unless you're driving. We salute you, Danielle Delise, turned to Jonas. We honor you. Do the salute. Now put your hand over your heart. To Danielle Delise, we pray in God's name, amen.
Amen.
May you forever find that the prosciutto aisle is stocked full. May you always know where the bundt cake is in the grocery aisle. May you never run out of pasta, and may your sauce never burn on the stove. May your kitchen flow with olive oil. May your grass never brown. May your dogs not pee on your expensive Moroccan rugs. May the white furniture you're home with stay white and shiny. May your walls stay free of crayon marks. And may your hair, big as it is, stay big until the day you pass from this earth, remembered not for your husband or for the men that you found yourself in orbit with, but for the home that you created and the love you shared with your family. Forever and ever, amen. In God's name we pray.
Danielle Delise.
Danielle Jonas forever.
Strength and resilience. That's an icon.
I'm never
right
not
there.
thinking, like, I have to be honest with you, I'm never not thinking about Danielle Jonas now. Like, baby
In
girl, you stay
moments-
on my mind.
In moments of struggle and moments of weakness, I think of her and I find strength.
Yeah, I find strength.
I think if she can deal with what she's dealt with, I can handle anything.
I can handle anything, okay? If I can handle what she has handled, I can get through it all. And same with Sophie, you had to smell Joe Jonas's dick for that long. Like, you are a warrior of God. I'm not saying because of like where it was. I'm just saying I'm sure he walks into the room and it reeks, right? Like, we know Joe Jonas isn't washing his balls. Look at him. Like, Nick keeps his trimmed, obviously, and we won't talk about Kevin. He's a straight man through and through. That's why we need 50. That's why we need intervention on Danielle. Like, we need to airlift
Nick's
her
the
out
only
of New
one who
Jersey.
wipes. Maybe he even has a bidet.
Nick has a bidet for sure.
Yeah.
And he has a bidet. He and Priyanka are like Meghan Trainor and the Spy Kid, where they have bidets side by side. And Priyanka never uses it, but Nick hopes that someday she will, right? Like, he keeps it there in the hopes that one day they'll spray and play together.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh god, what a ride we've been on. What a ride.
What a fucking ride.
Now, I want to end this series with a poll. 1 to 10. What do you think? How much do you think, believe that Nick Jonas has ever had a finger in his asshole? Oh. Another man's finger.
Oh, another man's finger. 1 out of 10?
1 out of 10.
I'd say a 3. I don't think he's that adventurous.
I think an 8.
Oh.
I think he did
I think
it for
Joe.
research.
I'd give Joe an 8. Comparing.
Joe seems like a gay for pay kind of guy.
No,
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
giving like, if this is the attention I can get right now, I'll take
Yeah,
it.
no, that's what I mean. Gay for pay for sure, 100%.
I think Nick is like,
I think
keeps it
I
too
think
tight.
Nick- I never want to think about Nick Jonas's tight hole ever again. Actually, I've decided. Well, guys, thank you. I know that this was a rather funny end to the series that has remained so focused up until this point, but we really wanted to end on a light note because the series did start on such a like catastrophically dark note, and we have had so many dark notes throughout it that I wanted to kind of end on something a little funnier with the gay rumors and, you know, Joe kind of
It couldn't
being
not
Joe
be
Jonas.
acknowledged. It couldn't not be.
And I just hope
acknowledged.
Sophie Turner, if you listen to this, which
There's a chance.
there's not a chance Sophie listened to it. I think there's a chance others have listened to it. I can't say anything more. Hi everyone, wave to them. But if Sophie ever listens to this, I just hope that you have been spared true hell in this life. And I hope that you know the entire world has your back and you are going to be fine, obviously. And the entire world is in your fingers, right? Is in your hands, in your at the fingertips. What is it that they fucking say?
And
You
that
know what I
finger
mean.
that could have been. Never mind.
Sophie, just know you dodged a bullet that unfortunately you have children with, right? Like you did have children with the bullet as it passed through you, but now you could get like medical team in there to patch up that bullet wound and move on with your
Healing.
life. I hope
It's time
that
for healing.
you marry a guy who's tall, actually, and also hot. And that your ex-husband burns with jealousy for the rest of his life because you are the best thing he was ever going to do in this world. And probably in the next one too. So go off,
You know
Sophie.
what?
We love and
One
support
thing we've
you.
never done here that we haven't done. Kevin is 5'9".
Okay.
Nick is 5'8". Where's
Isn't Joe
Joe's-
5'7"?
I think so. Joe and Nick are both 5'7". Oh, it seems like we're getting
Yeah.
mixed results. I'm sure they've tried
I
to
think
muddy the waters a little bit.
he looks like a guy who's 5'7" to me.
Yeah. Oof, well, there you go. I thought you were going to do Marry, Fuck, Kill.
No. God, no. We already know my answer. I just said all that to Sophie, but you know, we know my answer.
I'll jump from a
let's
bullet as
not-
well.
Let's not dig that grave back up. Okay, you guys,
All
we're
right.
at our longest episode ever now. Probably we're at 2 hours. We
Wow.
love you guys so much. Have a great holiday. We will be back next week with a Hot Topics episode to kind of just like
What's been
smooth
going
over
on? Because I don't know.
with the holidays fast approaching and our Christmas break fast approaching, we are going to be running Hot Topics episodes through the end of the year just because like I don't feel like it is necessary to start a new series before, you know, the new year. So
Yeah,
we can
might
start
as
the new
well give
year
us some
bright and
time to
early with
prepare.
Miley. Yeah, this series was a huge endeavor and it took a lot of work, and I just want to say thank you to all of our patrons who keep us, you know,
Yes.
going, who pay our bills, who help us keep this podcast running. You guys are so fabulous, and the Patreon has been really blowing up recently, and you guys have been leaving the funniest comments in the entire fucking world. So please keep commenting on it. It's like my favorite thing in the world to go on Patreon and read everything that you
Literally.
guys say or message us. And to everyone else, like, thank you so much for sharing this series. We picked up a lot of new listeners during the last 10 episodes. And for all of you who are joining us, know that we have a very long catalog that you can go back and enjoy. We have lots of different series like this one, maybe not quite as involved, but there's so much to get into. So please, please, please give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. Give us a shout out on social media. Follow us at Eating for Free on Instagram, _Eating for Free on Twitter. And the rest of the links are in the bio. You know where to go. As always, guys, thank you again. I'm going to keep saying thank you, but this was the most fun I ever had doing the podcast. And I
agree.
love that this is what we get to do with our lives, and you all make it so worth it. Matt, you also make it worth it because I can't do this without you. And you're my best friend and my partner in Jonas Brothers lore forever until we both die.
I mean, legitimately, like, we're bonded for life now.
Like at this point, I feel like you and I are Thelma and Louising off the cliff at the end. Like we're not even going to die of old age. Like we're going to make it our
We're
choice
legitimately we're driving the Corvette into the Waffle House as we speak.
Yeah. Okay. I love you guys. Have a great holiday. Eat lots of really good food and enjoy. Okay.
Let's sign off.
3, 2, 1. We made it to the year 3000. So much has changed and we don't live underwater. Goodbye.
Hashtag free Danielle.
Free Danielle. You've been listening to Eating for Free, a podcast created, co-hosted, written, researched, and produced by myself, Joan Summers, and Matthew Lawson, with original theme music by Sam Huntington of Crooks and Nannies. If you liked what you heard today, you can go to patreon.com/eatingforfree to get access to weekly bonus episodes, as well as access to my other podcast, Beautiful Women Updates, hosted by myself and Alex V. Green. You can also go to eatingforfree.com to get access to the links to our research from today's episode, as well as merch and so much more.